Hey everybody, how you doing? It's me, Truth Teacher, coming at you again with another video. The last video that I put up dealing with the whole, issue of whether or not Cleopatra was an African woman, um, I said that I was going to do my next video dealing with the issue of whether or not the modern Egyptian people are in fact Arabs. And I still want to do that video, but I've been looking around, I've been seeing a lot happening in social media as a result of this program. I'm not even going to call it a documentary, and I'm seeing a lot of negativity on all sides. I'm seeing a lot of racist propaganda being slung, you know, at each other. I'm seeing it coming from African Americans. I'm seeing it coming from Egyptians and other North Africans, and of course, people of European descent. And so I have to ask myself, do I want to be part of that campaign of negativity? And the answer to that is no. So I have to be very careful and really set my intention and ask myself exactly that. What is my intention for doing these sets of videos that I am going to be doing, addressing these issues? And my intention is to create, number one, education, because one thing that I see that all of these racist, comments have in common is a lot of ignorance. It's obvious that all of these people are extremely miseducated, and they really don't have a lot of information. They certainly don't have any real background in history, in culture. It's just a lot of ignorance going on out there. And I don't want to add to that. I want my videos to be educational, and I want them to foster mutual understanding and respect. So, before I sat down to make this video, I saw something and I found it very disturbing. It's by an African YouTuber. But once again, this propaganda I'm hearing, calling North Africans, lighter skinned North Africans invaders. And her video was in response to this British guy who he's an older person, but his ideology, first of all, he himself is he's very ignorant. He has, this upper class British accent, and people hear that and they think, oh, this person is educated. They know what they're talking about. He's extremely ignorant. His mindset is set back in the mid 20th century. And it's obvious that he got his education from a 19th century British Empire, propaganda. He's he's a white supremacist, but he's a white supremacist who's smart enough to know how to code his language, right? And not use those, hot button words that get people all inflamed. And he was basically saying that
Black people were always a minority in Africa in historical times. We tend to think now of Africa as being a country of black people, a continent full of black people. It's not true. At one time, there were three different types of people living in Africa. There were the Berbers, who lived in the Sahara before it became a desert. They were white people, and they lived in North Africa. In the south, there were the Khoisan, sometimes known as the bush people. They lived over most of Africa, right as far north as Uganda, Kenya, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. South Africa, there weren't any black people living there. There were only the Khoisan people living there.
So were they white, these Bushmen?
They were white people. They were white people.
First things first, the word Khoisan he's using to describe these people is actually a derogatory term that came about during colonization. These people he's referring to, they are the Kwe, they are the Twa, they are the Nama people. These are their original indigenous identities. And no, these indigenous people are not white in any way, shape, or form. He knows this, but then he calls them whites. Is this not what they call subliminal messaging? I swear, when these people speak, you have to make sure you listen to everything they say and how exactly they said it. This is how they plant ideas, slowly start feeding into your subconscious that white people were once here before colonization, and they were actually the indigenous of the land and the first humans. I scream agenda, because tell me, why else would he be calling people who are obviously not white white? These indigenous people were never white, and they are still not white. What exactly are these folks going on about? And earlier he mentioned the Berbers of Northern Africa. The white Berbers of Northern Africa are invaders. We can't get into the history of Northern Africa right now. Those who know the history of Northern Africa know exactly what I'm talking about. So what exactly is this man going on about?
North African immigrants have brown and dark skin complexion like other East and West Africans. Some look phenotypically Negroid. MSCs say the pale or white MSCs don't even speak or write the original Tamajite dialect. White Berbers learn from the original blacks their language. They never learn the written script, which is why the black MSCs are the only ones who kept the original writing scripts hidden from white Berbers who can't understand it. It's not as pure, but it separates the originals from the whites. You will not find Riffian dialect written in ancient Old Tifina. They came and learned it under the black Amasai who worshipped Amun deity with them in Siwi, in ancient West Libya Kemet. The pale-skinned MSCs are population replacement racism. Their mtDNA belongs to Mamluks, Kurds, Turks, Albanians, Balkans, Boers, Greeks, Circassia, Spain, pale European slaves, etc.
Here's where I stand on this thing. As a person of African descent, myself, I'm a person of mixed ancestry, predominantly African descent, but I'm related to just about every population group on the damn planet. But as a person of African descent living here in the United States, I definitely know what it is to experience racism, colorism, and all of that negativity. And I want to say this, and I'm addressing both people in the African diaspora, um, whether you be on the continent or in the Caribbean or North America or Latin America or Europe and the UK. I'm also addressing this to people, well, y'all are Africans too. North Africans, Egyptians. Look, just because our ancestors and even ourselves have experienced negative circumstances, right? It doesn't give us the right to go out and attack other people. It doesn't give us the right to use hurtful, hate speech and demeaning rhetoric against another group of people. It just doesn't. And, a major part, what a lot of people are not understanding is that to a large degree, a lot of this controversy that happened with this whole Cleopatra thing is the direct result of certain people in the African diaspora who have been going out of their way to attack people from North Africa and Egypt in particular, and calling them out of their names and calling them dogs and calling them invaders and all kinds of really nasty language. On the flip side, there's been a reaction from people of, let's just say, the diaspora of tropical Africa, right? Reacting to certain people in North Africa, and I'm going to include Egypt in that whole umbrella of North Africa, who have been themselves engaging in racist rhetoric, because it's like you see a lot of these people and it's like they damn just copy and pasted all of the racially inflammatory, insulting, degrading language of these white nationalist hate groups. And so what you're having is people who, it's just crazy, because if you look at the history of North Africa, if you look at the history of Algeria, if you look at the history of Egypt and what those people went through during the colonial period, right? It was really horrible. It was really dehumanizing and degrading. And to see these two groups of people who have suffered attacking each other using the tactics of our common oppressors, it it's really disheartening. I've said this on other videos before, and I'm going to say it again because maybe it just needs to be repeated over and over and over again until it starts to sink into people's minds. But this whole thing, this whole idea of putting people into racial categories, into racial groups, is something that was created by people in a bygone age. The colonial, capitalist, slave owning European powers who were looking to justify the theft of Native American people's lands, the enslavement of Africans, and the subjugation and exploitation of various countries around the world in order to benefit off of their resources, to exploit their resources for their own gain. Nobody in Africa ever identified by a concept of a skin color. Nobody based their identity on that. We all based our identities on our ethnic groups, our family lineages, our cultural groups, our nations. There's no such place in Africa called Negro land. There's no such thing as a Negroid. There's no such thing as a Negro. There's no such thing as a black African. We never came up with these terms. These terms were imposed on us by outsiders, whether they were European, Greek, or Arab. So why are we internalizing these concepts and using it against each other? Why are we doing that? This idea of race, it's not just a simple thing of describe the fact that we do have physical differences. Yes, we do, but those differences are superficial. They're only the result of hundreds of thousands of years in living in particular environmental areas and the way the body has adapted in order to sustain life in those areas. That's all it is. That's all it is. And as a matter of fact, it's because the human species is able to do that. That's why we're the most successful species on the planet. You go anywhere in the world except for Antarctica, and you will find human beings. It's because we have it in our genetic code to be able to adapt to any environment. That's why we're so successful. But this idea of thinking that these superficial differences can inform you on the level of intelligence, your character, your morality. That is false. There is absolutely no scientific proof, and God knows Europeans looking to justify their nonsense have been trying from the get go to use science to justify their behavior. And their own science is telling them that all of these premises that they created are bogus. But yet and still, we hold on to these things. We hold on to these ideas. We internalize them. And then we turn them against each other, and even against ourselves. You go anywhere in the African diaspora and colorism is a thing. You got lighter skinned people who've been conditioned to think that they're better than darker skinned people. And then darker skinned people, they get on the offensive and then they flip the script and they start creating propaganda to throw it right back at them and make, lighter skinned people feel like crap. That's happening in the African diaspora. That's happening in the Caribbean, in the African American community, in the Latino community. The same thing is happening in North Africa. The same thing is happening in Egypt. You go into any pharmacy in Egypt, you're going to find hair relaxer. You're going to find relaxer to straighten out the kinks out of your hair. What is it? Which one they sell? Dark and Lovely. You're going to find Dark and Lovely relaxers. And you're going to find skin bleach. Ava B. White. I shit you not. The last time I was in Egypt, went into the supermarket, and there in the pharmacy section was Dark and Lovely, No Lie Relaxer, right beside Ava B, capital B, Ava, EVA, capital B, White, skin bleach cream. And then you turn on the TV and you see, what is it they call it? Light and Lovely. Light and Lovely skin bleach cream. And the commercial, the girl, she's trying to, I don't know, there's some guy that she's interested in, but he's not interested in her because she's dark, or she goes to a job on an interview and they decline her. But then she opens up this box of Fair and Lovely cream and light comes out. And now she's like several shades lighter and she gets the good guy. She gets the boyfriend and she gets the job. You look at the media and I swear to God, man, like Egypt, there's a lot of dark-skinned people in Egypt. And I'm not even talking about Nubians. But you look in the media and all you see are the lightest, brightest, damn near whitest approximation people. So they're doing it against each other. And I have my girlfriends, they go to Egypt and they tell me it breaks their heart when they talk to young girls and the young girls think that they're ugly because they're dark skinned and they're like, no, I'm ugly. I want to be pretty like you because they're lighter skinned, like they're lighter skinned and beautiful girls, beautiful, but they can't see their own beauty because the larger society is telling them that they're not beautiful because their hair is too curly, because their skin is too dark. We're all dealing with the same bullshit. So why are we tearing each other apart instead of helping each other to heal? That's what I want to know. All these ideas that we have about what a real African should look like, what a real African should be, all these ideas that were created by colonial European powers hundreds of years ago. First of all, what the hell gave them the right to come to another part of the world and tell the people who they are? and to put names on them like they're naming animals in a zoo, and to tell them, well, if your features don't look this way or that way, you don't really belong here. Who the hell gave them the right to do that? And why are we still believing it? Why are we holding on to this? And then using that bullshit propaganda to attack each other. Why are we doing this? Does it even make any kind of freaking sense? So the one good thing I can say that came out of this whole Cleopatra Netflix bullshit is that it's giving us the opportunity to have some really deep conversations and to examine our mentalities and our ideas and our assumptions. And hopefully, at the end of the day, we can resolve some of this trauma that we're carrying, because it is trauma. It is trauma. People in the African diaspora, we've been traumatized for the past 500 years because of the slave trade. And yes, there were Africans who were involved in it because, Jesus Christ, man. You think African people were just so fucking pathetic that Europeans could just roll up in there with shopping carts and roll out with a whole bunch of Africans? No. We're all guilty. We're all guilty. All of us have shit on our hands. All of us. So it's time to stop, the victim complex. Poor me, poor me, poor me. Well, yeah, poor me, poor you. Yeah, we had bullshit done to us. We were victims. But at the same time, we have to own up to the fact that we were also victimizers at times. So today we were the victimizers, tomorrow we're the victims. And it just keeps going around and around and around in a circle. And this whole issue just goes to show that principle, that just because a group of people are oppressed doesn't mean that they don't have the capacity to become victimizers themselves. That's what this whole thing is showing. So it's time for us to create a new mindset. It's like the colonial period is gone, but we're still dealing with neo-colonialism, with these Western powers that think that they can come into our countries and dictate to us what we should or shouldn't do, interfere in our internal political structures, interfere in our economic structures. There's another phase of the revolution. The first part of the revolution was getting rid of slavery, getting rid of, these overt colonial powers. And now the next phase is for us to liberate ourselves politically, economically, socially. And while we're doing that, we also have to begin to heal the traumas from the pain that we experienced from those past events. So I definitely am going to handle that topic. But before I do that, I wanted to put this video out there because, like I said, of course, yeah, if you have a YouTube channel, you want views. But the reason why I'm doing this, it's not just about the views. There's a bigger picture and something much deeper than just getting views and likes that I'm after. And it really is to create a healing and to foster an awakening of how we look at ourselves, how we look at life, and how we understand the events of the past and the events that we're still dealing with now, to begin to create a new blueprint for the future. Because You know, they say if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. Well, if you don't have a plan of where you're going, you're going to end up going nowhere. And I see the way we're all struggling. I see it here in the United States. I see it in the Caribbean. I see it in Latin America. I've been to Egypt more than I've been to any place else in the world. And to be completely transparent and to be completely honest, I have a very strong love-hate relationship with Egypt. There's a lot of things I love about Egypt, but there's a lot of things that I absolutely hate about it, because I see the way Egyptian people are being treated, not even are being treated now, and the consequences that it has on their lives and the way they move and the way they behave and the way they act in certain situations. We're all hurting. We're all hurting. So, can we just for a second recognize that we all bleed the same blood? We all breathe the same air. We all got to drink the same water. Okay, so if you shit on one side of the pond, best believe sooner or later you're going to have to drink that water too. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this to each other. And there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why we should be engaging in this kind of behavior. Absolutely none. So I want my videos to be a conduit for change, for understanding, creating mutual respect and empathy, and maybe even offering solutions as to how we can start healing. So with that, I'm going to leave it there for now. And I want you all to be blessed and to enjoy the rest of your week. Stay good. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Help your boy out. You know, come on now. Spending time here trying to do a good thing for people. So give me a like, give me a thumbs up, share the video, and enjoy yourselves. Be good. Be kind to each other, okay? Be kind to each other. Until I see you the next time in my next video, okay? Peace out.